surroundings. At one point, I was at a crossroad. Do I continue this theory, then called Asian vision, or I stop and I return to what I was doing before, corvids, nudes, and other subjects that have been exhibited many times. The first indications that I was on the right track came with a painting signpost. The Lion of Korea, the Horses of Bedford. A lady came to visit my studio and said to me that Korea doesn't have lion. Why should I name the painting the Lions of Korea? She said, we have only tigers. She was right. Lions, in fact, comes from Buddhism. Lions in Buddhism are the protectors of Dharma. And in Chinese, Buddhism is called Fo. And it's symbolic of the Bodhisattva, the sons of Buddha, of Buddha's lion. We were both correct, actually. The fu dog, held by the ruff of its neck by the altar attendant, was indeed a signpost, and as much as the sign cautioning of horses as it is at the entrance of the farm. From Korea, the eastern route to the Silk Road accessed Japan, which has its own protector of Dharma. Ashura, seen here in Ashura tree, has 6 arms and 3 faces. The Ashura of Hindu mythology fell from grace and were viewed as a type of quarrelsome demon, constantly fighting with the more godly divas. Though rehabilitated by the Buddhists in China and Korea, before emigrating to Japan, the Ashura are still run-of-the-mill humans on the spiritual scale and are known for their anger and violent behavior, which consigns them to the same endless cycle of rebirth, reincarnation as humans. Ashura may be the most popular figure in Buddhism. In all the deities in Japan, it's probably the most popular, because it is the most human, which could explain the adulation the statue inspires. We have to understand that Ashura in Japan is really considered as a national treasure. The sycamore below Ashura is a tree that I've seen in a park in New York City. And as in, it has 6 branches, 6 arms. Sincerely yours. Follows the above and consists in 3 images. The Japanese Bodhisattva is immobile, not because he is a sculpture, but because he's standing still, offering welcome. He's an agent of peace who has not yet decided if he would become a Buddha or stay among the humans to help them. The skulls have been an inexhaustible source of inspiration for me for so many years. The larger one on the left is of a raven, and the small one on the right is a rook. A rook is a corvid that we find in Europe and in Asia. Both of them are placed on a pile of books, and on their head, I don't know if we can see it very well here, you have the shell of a spiked chestnut. Gives them some kind of importance, and someone gives them a pretentious aspect, while at the same time it's humorous. The spiraling globes, which I modeled after marbles, are planets orbiting around their sun. In this case, we could see it as the Bodhisattva itself. Buddhism also spread to Tibet from India along the Silk Road. Here we have a painting which is called Pardes, the Garden of Pomegranates. A painting created at the invitation of the Hebrew Union College Museum of Art in New York for their show titled The Spectrum of Sexuality, and I linked here Buddhism with Judaism. The union of the 6-armed Mahakala, the wrathful deity who is both a protector and an archetype in Tibetan Buddhism, and his 6-armed consort as a symbol of sexual polarity. In the still life, there are 3 pomegranates on the table, representing graphically and symbolically the tree of life. The tree of life has 3 columns. The right, representing the spiritual aspect of everything. The left, the material aspect of everything. And the center, the sexual aspect. According to Kabbalah, the right and the left are an illusion, part of the duality of life. Only the center exists. With the center's oscillation to the right and left, it gives the appearance of existence. Basically, it's exactly like this pen. It goes right and left, right and left. You see it on the right, you see it on the left, but it does not exist. Only this exists. This is the center. Unlike Buddhism, Hinduism did not spread west beyond India, though it did spread east along the Silk Road from India to the Southeast Asia. Perhaps this is why, in looking west, I encapsulated this Gupta sculpture of Ganesh, the son of Shiva and the remover of obstacles, in time and space with white. On the left side, the skulls, though looking west, cast their shadows eastward. Then and Now is also another painting of Indian Ganesh. A few years ago, while visiting the Musée Guimet in Paris, which is a museum of Asian art, I was struck by this sculpture, and I had to return so many times there, and I sketched this sculpture of all different angles, from all different angles. He's sitting here dominating the upper part of the canvas. Below is a still life of found objects, dried gourds, chestnuts, dried chilies, dried whatever, leaves, and seaweed. Those Ganesh and those objects have been a constant source of inspiration. The Maritime Silk Road is credited to the Tang Dynasty, though Chinese envoys have been sailing through the Indian Ocean to India since perhaps the 2nd century before Christ. Barbarian marauders and mercenaries were making it increasingly dangerous to travel the Silk Road. Previously living in isolation along its route, they were drawn to the riches and opportunities of the civilization the routes connected. The routes by sea became easier and safer. This led to the opening of trading opportunities with new promises of markets in the southeastern Asia. My painting, The Silk Road, merges 3 different periods in history. Ships carried storage jars for preserved food, grain, and fresh water, such as those found in the South China Sea from the wreck of the San Diego, a Spanish galleon converted into a cargo ship. The head of the Bodhisattva, with a beautiful expression and the remaining fragment of a sumptuously ornamented diadem, is from the Shandong dynasty. The Shandong province is from the Qi dynasty. By the way, this is the same sculpture on this painting on a different angle. The terracotta horse is from the Tang dynasty. South Indian Sea traders sailing to maritime Silk Road brought Hinduism from India to Indonesia on a hot sea. I contrast here 2 interpretations. One is with Krishna, one of the most widely revered Hindu deities, though it appears to be sitting on a jar on Garuda's head. In fact, he's standing astride his head and shoulders, more likely having returned from a raid. As an avatar of Vishnu, he had borrowed his mount and his war discus, which he holds in his right hand, while in his left hand is open and he's pointing his finger. In Javanese legend, this jar holds the elixir of longevity. The gods had eaten this elixir of longevity, but Vishnu managed to steal it. They had suddenly well protected by two poisonous snakes, which Garuda now holds in his hand. As he rises in flight, his legs folded under him and his long tail streaming behind him. The other is a still life with a warthog skull, surrounded by, in a frying pan, surrounded by red and gold beets as well as red radishes. Thailand was also along the Silk Road, though you can't find anything of its inclusion in any of the maps. Buddhism spread from northern India as well as from Sri Lanka to Thailand. 5 elements are seen in this painting, 4 turtles and 1 Buddha. And there forms a capital Z, the ancient pictogram of number 2. They symbolize the movement of the universe, 2 forces appearing to be rotating in opposite direction of a central axis, the Buddha, but actually in synchronicity complementing one another. The 4 turtles shown here represent the 4 elements. Turtles support the world in both Buddhism and Native American lore. With China's contemporary rendition of the new Silk Road, one belt, one road, new routes are opening both by land and by sea. This means new discovery, new knowledge, and new paintings to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was fascinating. I think you agree with me that the paintings are exquisite. We're very fortunate that Henry has agreed to spend a few minutes with Mr. Michael Secor in doing a moderated discussion, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. I'll note that afterwards, we always feel bad trying to sometimes end the questions because we know there'll be many, but we'll also have a wonderful reception afterwards where I know Henry will be happy to answer questions individually after that. But for now, we're very pleased that Henry and Michael will have a moderated discussion, so thank you. And I would just note that again, the paintings are really just exquisite, and we're so grateful that Henry could share the combination of his own culture from France and his background and the integration with China and other cultures. So I'll turn it over to our moderator and to Henry for a few minutes of discussion.
Thanks, Alex. Wow, that was really intense. It's the word I was using, both visually, audibly. I mean, that was a full 5 senses experience. Thank you, Henri. Thank you. And I prefer Henri. Yeah. You can use the Americanized Henry, but Henri. If for no other reason, my favorite soccer player was Thierry Henry. Yeah, that's what. So, what struck me, and yes, I do need my glasses, is in thinking about the ancient Silk Road. The ancient Silk Road was literally the first information superhighway. We can generally say that the Silk Road started in Xi'an, in central China, and had its terminus in the eastern Mediterranean, and what we call the Levant. Today, that's Israel, Palestine, Syria, that area of the world. And it was a highway for information, culture, art, science, religion. And what has struck me about your presentation and your work is, at least for me, it boils down to the most beautiful essence of humanity, which is we are constantly, as a race, trying to find out what's different about each other and how to separate ourselves from each other. And your work speaks to me in a way that says, no, we're an amalgamation. We are a combination of all of these things. that the influence works both ways. And so when I think about the work that you've done recently, I think about your background and how it must have informed your art. You are, and I'm sorry if I'm telling too many secrets again, but you are French, you're Tunisian, you're Jewish, you have a medical background, you're an artist, you're a